Midnight Moon. Written by Suzana Thompson. Narrated by Sarah Sampino. Chapter 14. Damien wouldn't listen to reason. He was convinced that he had to kill Kristen, and I couldn't talk him out of it. Finally, I decided to play along and get as much information out of him as I could. "How are you going to do it?" "I'm going to rip her throat out," he exclaimed angrily, startling me with his vehemence. "I'll attack her as soon as we turn. She won't even know what hit her." Relief flooded through me now that I knew he would wait until the full moon. That gave me time to enlist the help of Bryce and his mom in stopping Damien from committing murder. Still, I couldn't appear to drop the argument too easily. "Do you think you can take her? She's killed before and you haven't. What if she kills you instead?" "I can take her," he assured me with steely resoluteness. "And you're going to be her boyfriend until then," I stated unhappily. "It's just an act," he told me. "Like when you act in your plays." "Not exactly," I said. "We all know we're pretending when we act in a play. Kristen thinks this is real, and she'll expect real romance." That wasn't really the word that was on my mind. "They're fake kisses, just like when you're on stage. They don't mean anything to me," he insisted. "The only reason I'm doing this is to protect you." He's in love with you. What Taylor had said flashed through my mind, but I didn't allow myself to dwell on it. He was talking about kissing another girl, so those didn't exactly seem like the actions of a guy who was in love with me. "I haven't kissed anyone on stage, so I wouldn't know." "It's weird, having to pretend like I'm into her when she's the enemy," he explained. "Every time she smiles, I just want to knock her teeth out." I stared at him after hearing him express something so violent. Only now did I understand that he actually hated her, and it made me worry about what he could become. "This is twisted, Damien. One day you'll kiss her, the next day you'll kill her. You don't think that's going to mess with your mind?" "Keep your friends close and your enemies closer," he quoted. "It sucks having to do it this way, but it's only until the full moon. Then it'll be over." He talked like it would be easy, but I was sure it would never be over for him if he killed her. It would haunt him for the rest of his life. Yet I wondered if Bryce's mom was planning to do the same thing. How could anyone else stop Kristen? In the meantime, I backed off and left Damien to his own plans. He had warned me that he needed to break off all contact with me in order to convince Kristen that he'd lost interest in me. I wasn't supposed to text him unless he texted me first, because he wanted to make sure she wasn't with him when we communicated. This all sounded reasonable in theory, but I wasn't prepared for how cut off I'd feel from him. The distance between us seemed wider with each passing day we spent apart, without engaging in any real conversations. Taylor couldn't understand how I could put up with this kind of behavior. "It's not right. I don't care what he says about it being fake. He's still kissing her." I had seen them in the hall earlier that day, and their kiss hadn't looked fake from where I was standing. Our relationship had been tentative at best, and doubt was unraveling any shred of hope I'd had left for it. "That doesn't matter," I lied. "I'm more worried about him becoming a murderer. Does Bryce know anything about his mom's plan yet?" Taylor sighed. "No, but I can't think of anything else she could do besides kill Kristen. Bryce told her what Damien is planning to do, and she didn't have much to say about it. Maybe she's going to help him do it. She just told Bryce to stay out of it and let her take care of it." It didn't sound to me either like she had any miraculous solution to the problem, and I slumped in my seat at Taylor's kitchen table. We were having a snack after school that was more like an early dinner. Taylor had raided the fridge and set out leftover fried chicken and potato salad. We also had our pick between a plate of homemade brownies and a package of cupcakes. "My dad's off his diet again," she explained, with only the hint of her usual smile. This drama with Kristen was weighing on her heavily, too. "How are you and Bryce doing?" I asked. "Don't know," she mumbled through a mouthful of food. Pausing to chew and swallow it, she then resumed speaking. Everything's on hold for now, I guess. He's distracted by what's going to happen with his mom and Kristen. We haven't really talked about anything else. But what do you think? I questioned. Do you still want to go out with him now that you know he's a werewolf? I'm not sure, she admitted. That part still doesn't seem real, even though I know it is. I know what you mean, I told her. It's still hard for me to picture Damien turning into a wolf, even though the black wolf was in my house. I know it was him, but I didn't see it happen, and it still seems impossible. It was easier for me to believe your boyfriend was a werewolf, she noted wryly. But mine? I watched her expression change as she broke off abruptly. Bryce is your boyfriend? No, she stammered. I didn't mean to call him that. But that's how you think of him? I pressed. Her blue eyes were filled with uncertainty. I don't know, but you like him. I finished for her. Enough to want him to be your boyfriend. Yeah, she confirmed. I do. Or I did until everything got so complicated. He seems like the perfect guy for you, I agreed. Except for the werewolf part. And the psycho-werewolf ex-girlfriend part. She cracked a smile. Good description. Like it? How about the bitch with claws? Get it? A female dog is a bitch? I grinned and picked up a forkful of potato salad. Your mom makes the best potato salad. The fork clattered onto my plate as it fell from my hand. I was overwhelmed by depression so heavy that it felt like the air was pressing down on me. Daphne, what happened? Taylor demanded anxiously. Tears welled up in my eyes. She's dying. Kristen, she gasped in horror. No, I said. The treatment. It didn't work. I decided to go immediately to Daphne's house, and I promised to call Taylor later. Daphne's mom answered the door, and her eyes were red from crying. Daphne called me. I lied to explain my own tear-stained face. Her mom took a shuddering breath. She's been in her room most of the day. Try to talk her into coming out to the dining room for dinner. Okay, I agreed, and followed her to Daphne's room. She knocked lightly on the door. Clarissa's here. This information was met by silence at first. Come in, Daphne called out after a moment. I entered the room and closed the door behind me so that we could talk in private. So, the new drugs didn't work on me, Daphne confirmed. I stood there awkwardly, not knowing what to say except I'm sorry. I really thought it would work, she said softly. I had hope. They can try something else, I suggested. Maybe, She met my gaze with such a hopeless, desolate look. There is nothing else. That was my last hope. I'm going to die. No, I protested, even though I felt the horrible truth of her words. There has to be something else they can do. There isn't. She took a ragged breath. They said probably about 6 months, but I think... I sensed it too. The cold certainty of death sweeping literally into her mind with aggressive speed. She didn't have 6 months left. I don't want to die, she exclaimed. I thought I had accepted it, but I guess I didn't really believe it. I was sure the drugs would work. Some psychic, huh? Maybe they're wrong, I offered with false conviction. Doctors have been wrong before. I heard about this lady. They're not wrong, Daphne interrupted my weak argument. You know they're not. I know you feel it too. I'm going to die. Oh God, I don't want to die. I'm only 17. I want to go to college just like you said, and I've never even had a boyfriend. I rushed over to hug her in a hopeless attempt to comfort her. Nothing I could do or say was going to change her circumstances. It wasn't fair, I thought. A good person like Daphne shouldn't die so young, while a heartless murderer like Kristen got to live? Why wasn't she the one with a terminal illness? I couldn't convince Daphne to eat dinner, and I couldn't blame her for her lack of appetite. Food was the last thing on my mind, too, and I declined her poor mom's offer to stay and eat with them. Despite the rules we had agreed upon, I texted Damien as soon as I arrived home. Daphne's treatment didn't work. There was no reply from him, so I called Taylor to tell her the sad details of my visit with Daphne. When Damien still hadn't responded an hour later, I began to get angry. What was he doing that he couldn't spare 1 minute away from his pretend romance with Kristen? Maybe it wasn't so pretend anymore. Maybe Kristen had seduced him with her sexy body, and they were... I couldn't finish the thought, and I couldn't concentrate on my homework either. Taking a shower failed to soothe my nerves, and I stood despondently looking out my window at the moon. Only half of it was visible at this phase in the lunar cycle, but time would relentlessly bring back the full moon. Then the new cycle would begin again, but we humans didn't have the same guarantee. Some of us might not be here for the next full moon. Damien never did respond to my text, but Daphne sent me a message about 3 hours after I had texted him. Damien just left. He told me everything. So much to think about. Give me some time. We'll call you in a few days. That made me even more mad. What was he doing, dumping everything on Daphne at a time like this? She had enough of her own problems to deal with. Then I realized that was exactly why he'd told her. This was too heavy to be alleviated by a room full of teddy bears. He'd found the only way he could distract her from her scary reality, by confiding something equally bad: his plan to commit murder. At least he still cared about Daphne, which was the only thing that kept me from hating him as he began to completely ignore me. His infrequent text messages stopped altogether, and he was always too busy laughing with his friends or kissing Kristen at school to notice me. He was very obvious about not looking at me in the one class we shared, and I got the hint loud and clear that he didn't want anything to do with me. Bryce was a lot nicer to me, but he was distracted by worry over what would happen with Kristen and subdued with guilt over his part in the havoc she had caused. Even Daphne seemed to push me away. I was worried about her even more, since she appeared to have already given up on life. What's the point of going to school now? Daphne responded when I asked if she felt too sick to go to school. I feel okay, but why bother? I didn't voice my opinion that it would be better than sitting home and dwelling on depressing thoughts. If you're feeling okay, then you can go ice skating with us. Yes, Taylor said. It's my birthday tradition, and I'd love for you to be there. Who cares if I'll be an adult now? I still want to act like a kid. Daphne smiled wanly. Thanks for inviting me, but I'm not into ice skating. She also turned down our offers to go to the movies, shopping, out to eat, and even to hang out at my house. I went to visit her alone one afternoon and have a serious discussion with her. I don't know how else to say this, I began. You shouldn't be wasting the time you have left just sitting in your house. I know I'd want to do as much as I could before you die, Daphne said. It's easy to think that way when you're not dying. Hey, I'll go out with a smile on my face, having all kinds of fun. But you don't really feel like smiling when it's happening to you. I thought I'd accept it gracefully, but I'm not. It sucks. And I'm pissed. So no, I don't want to go out and pretend like I'm having a good time with everyone who's not dying. I'm sorry, I told her. I was just trying to help. I didn't want to make you feel worse. I know, she stated in a gentler tone. I didn't mean to vent like that. No, you should, I cried. Of course you should vent to me. I want to at least be here for you in some way. You are, she assured me. I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate it. I'm just a mess right now. I just wish there was something I could do, I sighed. I hate that this is happening to you. Me too, she agreed, with a touch of amusement in her brief smile. Seeing that small flash of humor was heartbreaking for me for some reason. Can't your grandma do anything? If magic can help Bryce get a tattoo, can it do something more useful, like save your life? That is literally a deal with the devil, she said. The price is too high, but I am considering something less drastic. What? I asked, excited that there might be another option for her. I want to be sure first that it won't hurt anyone else before I decide. I already took a big chance with you, she told me. I sensed something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was, and I wanted to leave someone here with the ability to warn people, just in case I didn't make it. But it was still a dangerous thing to do, and I had no right to do that to you without even asking. So I'm going to think this over more carefully. I still have some time to decide. I wanted to argue that she couldn't be sure how much time she had. Why would she even hesitate if there was something that could save her life? It wasn't my life or my decision, however, so I had to accept her timetable for choosing what to do. It lifted my spirits, though, knowing that there was hope for her. I went to Taylor's birthday party at the skating rink, and I was able to enjoy myself more than I would have if I hadn't talked to Daphne first and found out that things weren't as hopeless as they had seemed. Watching Bryce with Taylor made me smile. I could tell how much they liked each other, and I made a wish for things to work out between them. Taylor had said that their romance was on hold for now, but the way he gazed at her while they skated made it seem like they were on a date. It was so nice to lose myself in pleasant thoughts for a change. Taylor and Bryce were both blonde and blue-eyed, and it was easy for me to imagine them having cute little blonde children. I smiled at the wonderful fantasy as I sat observing them. "You're okay," someone noted in a relieved tone. "It's good to see you smile." My gaze hardened as I looked up at Damien. "Did you expect me to cry over you?" I queried derisively. "Don't be mad," he pleaded. "I haven't been ignoring you on purpose." "No," I agreed sarcastically. "You were forced to. Not that I even care anymore." "Please, Clarissa, just wait a little longer. It's almost time." "I'm not waiting for anything," I snapped. "You said it yourself. We've both got our own lives to live, which makes me wonder what you're even doing here." "I stopped by to wish Taylor a happy birthday," he said. "Then go do that," I told him. "Clarissa," he began, "there's more going on than you know. It's very important that I—" "Leave me alone," I exclaimed, cutting him off. "You should be an expert at that by now." I stood up and stalked off toward the bathroom. "Clarissa," he called after me, but I got the satisfaction of being the one to ignore him this time.